Jack, please, please, please let me get what I want.
Lord knows it would be the first time.
When you hear the Smiths, what comes to mind? Johnny Marr's crisp, melodic and intricate guitar playing?
Ding.
Morrissey's theatrical, poetic, witty lyrics?
Ding.
Or the often understated rhythm of Rourke and Joyce?
Ding, ding, ding.
Hello and welcome to episode 4 of One More Music Pod. I am Adam.
And I am Jack.
On today's episode we are diving into one of the most quintessential post-punk bands of all time, The Smiths and their album The Queen is Dead.
Released in 1986, this album is considered not only the band's jewel in the crown, but one of the greatest albums of all time. So, Adam, in the last episode, we were just about to go on your stag do, weren't we? And it's now post-stag. I think you had a good time, right?
A brilliant time, yeah, really good, Jack. We went to Copenhagen, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
What a beautiful city that was.
Yeah, it really is, yeah.
Beautiful city, beautiful people, beautiful beers. Yeah, really, really great couple of days.
So we went to Heidi's bar in the middle of Copenhagen on the first day, met a lady called Nadia, who was the working behind the bar.
Yeah.
She taught us how to drink a flugel, didn't she?
She did, yeah. If anybody doesn't know what a flugel is, it's a shot, isn't it? It's like a fruity shot.
Yeah, we don't really know what's in it, but it's kind of like sweet and sugary. And
things that could give you a headache.
Yeah,
which we all enjoy. The first 4 flugels were good, but then when we get to our 10th and 11th flugel, not so enjoyable.
But it was a great weekend. Beautiful city, wasn't it?
Yeah, loved it.
And yeah, I'd love to go back again someday.
And well done to Jack and my fellow groomsmen for keeping a secret up until the last minute, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think the moment you found out was when we were boarding the plane, wasn't it?
Yeah, so well done. So, Jack, last episode we looked at Part Life by Blur, didn't we? And we've had some feedback, which has been very nice, so thank you to everybody that's been in touch. Stanway80 said, in regards to the song This Is a Low, that it is the best song ever, and they have the chorus tattooed on their arm.
Wow.
Which is dedication.
That is dedication.
Also a big fan of To the End. They said the beauty of the lyrics is that ambiguity. Henry Britpop and Sharnston Villain, probably said that wrong, also said in regards to the song This Is a Low that it's the best song on the album. And Real Mrs. Beale, also on Instagram, said the entire Part Life album is a banger. One of my favourite albums of all time.
Yeah, and then Vinyl Junkie 37 said that Tracy Jacks is the best song on the album. We had RBM Media, Vinyl and the Wolf and Wicked Garden, who all said that Girls and Boys was their favourite song off the album. And Vamp Zombie Witch and Henry Britpop said that To the End was their favourite track. So I think, it's a bit of something for everyone there on that album, isn't there, really?
Definitely.
So thank you to everyone who did get in touch with us. Just a reminder that you can reach us on @onemoremusicpod or email us at onemoremusicpod@gmail.com.
And actually, Jack, quick one, we are now on TikTok.
Oh, we are, yes.
One More Music Pod. I never thought I'd see the day that we were on TikTok, but we are. Have a little follow, have a little look, and get in touch.
Yeah, give us a look. We'll be doing some little dances on there, won't we?
We will be. We'll be going viral with our dancing. Yeah, because that's what TikTok's all about, isn't it? Okay, Jack, so for this episode, I set you some homework. I asked you, Jack, to provide a link between last episode, Blur, and this week's episode, The Queen is Dead by The Smiths. How did you get on, Jack?
Yeah, well, I've been doing quite well on these so far, and happy to say, I've come through again, Adam. So this week's connection is Stephen Street. So as we know, he was the producer on Blur's Park Life album, and he also produced albums for The Smiths, including their album The Smiths, Meet His Murder, and also worked with Morrissey on his solo album Viva Hate. Now, before you say anything, I know that technically he didn't produce The Queen is Dead, but it's fine, it's all fine, it still counts, Adam, as a link. So, who is Stephen Street? He began his career as a guitarist in the late 70s, but after struggling to make it as a band member, he decided to pursue a career as a sound engineer. And he said in an interview with Music Tech in 2020, "I enjoyed the recording side of the process from the get-go. I didn't think I'd ever be a brilliant guitarist or bassist, but I thought I could use what I learnt about recording to follow in the footsteps of some of the brilliant producers who were coming through at the time." So, some of the artists that he has worked with, let's have a look at this. So, The Cranberries, Shed 7, Kaiser Chiefs. I don't know if you remember that album. Adam?
That was a brilliant album. Yeah,
yeah.
Employment, yeah.
The Pretenders. You worked with Suede, Baby Shambles, the Zootons, Tired of Hanging Around. That was their 2006 album, which I'm a big fan of. New Order. And the Cortinas.
Distinguished CV.
Yeah, I think
very...
he's a person that you may not have heard of, but you've almost definitely heard some of his music, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. I remember seeing the Cortinas in a tiny venue in Wolverhampton. It must have been around St Jude when that came out.
Yeah.
And there must have been around 100 people there. And they're massive now, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
But seeing in that really small venue was quite a special moment.
And of course, if anybody else out there can think of any links between these two records, we'd love to hear about them. Let us know at onemoremusicpod or onemoremusicpod@gmail.com. So last weekend we were sat in Copenhagen Airport, weren't we, Adam? So we decided to give each other some albums to listen to.
Yeah.
To get us in the mood for this week's featured album. I have been given the album Remain in Light by Talking Heads.
And Jack gave me the album Echo and the Bunnymen by Echo and the Bunnymen.
Okay, so shall we start with Remain in Light?
Yeah, let's go for it.
So for me, Talking Heads are quite an interesting band. They're not someone I've really gotten into properly, but no doubt they're a hugely influential band in music history. Quite an abstract sound to this album, I thought.
Yeah.
It's not something to listen to if you're after something poppy or easy to get into. For me, Once in a Lifetime is a standout track on this album. It's such an iconic hit from the band. Something I've liked for a long time. Something I listen to if I'm feeling a bit down and want to get out of a funk. It's quite a good mood lifter,
It's keep moving, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I wanted to mention the song Overload as well. Now, this is a song that was new to me, and I was listening to it. It gave me Joy Division vibes. I don't know if you thought the same thing, Adam?
Yeah, definitely. I think it reminds me a little bit of Atmosphere.
Yeah,
that kind of slow, drudging, atmospheric kind of sound. Yeah, very similar. Good observation, Jack.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, it was an interesting listen. I did enjoy it. I'm probably not going to go out and get myself a Talking Heads t-shirt just yet. But it has been good to give this one a go.
Was that a dig at me, Jack, that Talking Heads
Well, I'd say more of a shout out, really.
Yeah. I do own quite a few Talking Heads t-shirts, and I do enjoy wearing them. So, yeah. To me, it's not my favourite Talking Heads album, but it is considered the best. And I can kind of see why. It's very different, I guess, sort of Talking Heads albums. It's not as upbeat and as dancey as some of their other records.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily an album that's going to get you into the Talking Heads. Like you just said, it's not a sit down and listen to.
No, it's not.
You've really got to be in the mood for something very, very different. But as a long time fan, I do understand how important this album is and why many do see it as their best. It's a very adventurous album, and I think you can see the influence of Brian Eno on this album a lot. And that mixture of funk, Afrobeat, new wave does make the album quite complex in parts, with its beats, its layered textures. But yeah, I agree with Jack that Once in a Lifetime is the highlight. It is a classic. Other bangers, Cross-Eyed and Painless and Houses in Motion, are also very, very good tracks.
Yeah, so the other album was Echo and the Bunnymen. So for me, this album is so 80s, but I mean that in a good way. So you got the jangly guitars, that synthy sound on the keyboards. It's very much of that era. Favourite tracks for me were New Direction and Satellite. Also, shout out to Ian McCulloch's hairdo.
Yeah, he's still got great hair as well.
Yeah, he's a very cool looking guy.
Very, very jealous as a man who's struggling with hair. I'm very jealous of his hair. I quite liked it when you gave me this album to listen to, Jack, because it's a band for me, Echo and the Bunnymen. I've always heard there's something to go and listen to, a band to go and listen to, but I've never really made the effort, I guess. So I really appreciate you giving this to listen to. Really liked it. Really, really enjoyed it. Very guitar driven, moody, atmospheric in places, which I always like. So highlights for me were The Game, Lips Like Sugar, Bedbug and Ballyhoo, which I think sound a little bit like the Velvet Underground. I'm not sure if you agree with that, Jack. Yeah.
There's hints of Velvet Underground there, isn't there?
In that track, definitely. So yeah, really appreciate that album, and I'll definitely be listening a lot more. So if you've got any thoughts on either of these two albums, please get in touch at onemoremusicpod on Instagram or TikTok, or drop us an email at onemoremusicpod@gmail.com. Okay, Jet, so as always, before we get into the album, I guess we need to look at a little bit of background. And Manchester in the 80s was a particularly interesting period. So times were tough across the north of England in the 80s. Once an industrial powerhouse, the region was really struggling to come to terms with its decline in a number of industries such as textiles, manufacturing and engineering.
And then economically, in Manchester and the north of England in general, there were high levels of unemployment, with closures of factories leading to mass layoffs, with areas such as Moss Side, Hume and Ancoats being hit particularly hard. Due to this, the environment was in a state of decay, with housing being particularly poor in and around Manchester, which had lacked significant investment. Controversially, entire streets were demolished with very little consideration as to what would replace these areas. So a bit of a downtrodden area at the time. Do we think this could have had an influence on the music that the Smiths made?
It must do, mustn't it? You know, growing up in this area, I think you look around your environment and kind of think to yourself, maybe what's the point? And kind of there was no kind of lack of aspirations there. Because if your environment's not very nice, then why would you aspire to be anything at all, really? And when I was doing my research and looking into images of the area in the 80s, you can really see that it's not a nice place at all. And in some areas, it was actually considered a bit of a no man's land. And many at the time compared some areas of Manchester to a bit of a war zone. Politically, as mentioned in the previous episode, the influence of Thatcher's government was seen in Manchester during this time. As I'm sure you can guess, Jack, she was very unpopular in Manchester, as she was across the north of England, with many seeing Thatcher's politics only really benefiting the wealthy south and not the declining industrial north. Interestingly, Manchester City Council became a bit of a resistance to a lot of these politics of Thatcher at the time, sort of promoting an anti-nuclear stance, promoting the rights of the LGBT plus community and ethnic minority groups.
So, the music of Manchester. So, as Tony Wilson said, this is Manchester and we do things differently here. Some would argue that it is Manchester's economic decline that created Manchester's music scene, arguably the city's most defining feature.
Jack, I think when we're talking about Manchester, I think we have to mention one very important label, don't we? And that's Factory Records. This label really did become the heartbeat of the city, not just musically, but also culturally. And some would argue that this label is more of a philosophy than a label itself.
And a legendary venue from Manchester is, of course, the Hacienda, which I think we need to mention here. Opened in 1982, funded from the record sales of New Order, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
The venue played a central role in the development of the Manchester rave culture of the 80s and early 90s, and the Smiths played 3 gigs there in 1983, which were some of the band's first ever shows. So I was thinking about this, would you have fancied a night out at the Hacienda back in the day?
Oh, 100%. Every time we walk past it, Jack, when we're in town, it kind of, because the outside of the building is the same, isn't it? But it's now been turned into apartments, flats, kind of thing. And the videos I've seen inside that nightclub, it just looks amazing.
It does, yeah.
Doesn't it?
And I always think back to the film 24-Hour Party People, the scenes they sort of recreated in there, and it just looked like so much fun. I'd have loved to have been on a night out there.
Yeah, I don't think much alcohol was consumed.
No.
But they looked like they were having fun.
Yeah, exactly.
In other ways.
They were loving it. They were mad for it.
They were absolutely.
There we go.
Yeah, great. So I guess there are some other classic venues we need to mention, don't we? Because they all ultimately link to the Manchester music scene. Band on the Wall, mainly involved in the rise of the punk scene in the 1970s. So bands like Buzzcocks, The Fall and Joy Division played there.
Yep, we've got Albert Hall as well.
It's probably my favourite in Manchester to go and watch music. Formerly a Methodist building, was a nightclub between 1999 and 2011. I've seen some good bands there, Jack. I've seen Nick Mulvey, Bombay Bicycle Club, Palace and the Lumineers. So quite a lot of indie bands there, actually.
Yeah, the Apollo as well is another one of the classic venues.
This is a venue where I met Ricky Gervais.
You met Ricky Gervais?
I met Ricky Gervais and nearly cried. Because he is, maybe not so much anymore, but he, after The Office and after Extras, he is one of my idols.
So some of the notable Manchester bands of the 1980s, we've got the likes of New Order. So after the death of Joy Division frontman Ian Curtis in 1980, the remaining members of the band formed New Order. Songs like Blue Monday, True Faith, Age of Consent fused folk punk, electronic and dance music, which became a definitive sound of the 1980s.
Yeah, also Stone Roses, one of the more successful Manchester bands of the late 80s, early 90s, and really put the Manchester scene on the map. And paved way, I guess, for bands like Oasis and The Verb, with hits like I Want to Be Adored and She Bangs the Drums.
And of course, we have to mention the Happy Mondays, which I think they really epitomise that whole Manchester scene. So songs like Step On and Kinky Afro define that rave culture of the late 80s and early 90s. So this brings us on to the Smiths themselves. So let's have a little bit of a look at the band. Formed in 1982, the band members are Stephen Patrick Morrissey, better known as Morrissey, Johnny Marr, Andy Rourke, and Mike Joyce. Their first album came out in 1984, which was the self-titled album The Smiths, best known for the hit song This Charming Man. This album reached number 2 in the UK charts and established the band as one of the prominent bands in the UK in the early 80s. This was followed by Meat is Murder in 1985, which is the only Smiths record to go to number 1 on the UK album charts.
So, what everyone's here for, Jack, the album itself, The Queen is Dead. Recorded in the summer and winter of 1985, released on the 16th of June 1986, recorded at 3 studios, Jacob, Rack and Drone, on the label Rough Trade, and produced by Morrissey himself and Johnny Marr. Chart positions, it charted in the UK at number 2 and spent 22 weeks in the chart, and charted at number 70 in the USA. Now the album cover, Jack, very interesting, I feel the album cover is. The image itself is of Alain Delon, who is a French actor, and this still was taken from the 1964 film Les Issumus. I've murdered.
Yeah, I love that pronunciation there, Adam. Well done.
But Jack, do you know what it stands for?
Well, I believe it stands for the Unvanquished.
Oh, someone's done their research.
Well, I just read the notes there.
Oh, okay. So the image itself depicts... You've not got notes. This is all, we all store this in our minds. Okay, so the image depicts Delon's face lying down with his eyes closed, asleep, or possibly dead.
Yeah, could be.
I've not seen the film. Maybe this was chosen deliberately by Morrissey, as he does, and we've noticed, haven't we, in his lyrics, he does have a bit of an obsession with death, kind of alienation, the sense of loss.
Yeah, sings about a lot of quite dark subjects, doesn't he?
He does, he's a miserable bugger.
He is quite a little bit.
Yeah. So the album itself, Jack, The Queen is Dead. Now you might think this is a swipe at the British monarchy, The Queen is Dead. Maybe it's more to do with kind of the changing society at the time of the 80s, maybe the death of kind of traditional values. Possibly the band were referring to this rather than the monarchy itself. But, you know, we'll look at the lyrics later and we'll make our minds up then.
Okay, time to get into the album itself now. Again, unfortunately, still having issues getting this jingle sorted, so I'm just going to have to make one up again. So here goes. The album, give us your money.
I'm just going to go make a cup of tea. I'll see you in a bit, Jack.
Right then, so for me, Adam, I know you're a big fan of the Smiths, but personally, I've never really been into them. They've kind of a band that's kind of sort of passed me by.
Okay.
But I wanted to kind of give this album a go, see if it kind of changes my thoughts on it.
Yeah.
Always had this image in my head of maybe Morrissey being a bit dour and a bit kind of bit grim.
Bit downer.
Yeah, so I think it maybe might have influenced my thoughts on the band.
Yeah.
But yeah, wanted to kind of give this album a go this week, and yeah, let's see what we thought of it.
Okay.
So, track 1 is The Queen is Dead. Now, interestingly, this track begins with an extract of a song called Take Me Back to Dear Old Blighty, taken from a 1962 film called The L-Shaped Room. Interesting way to start an album. Why do you think they might have put that in?
I don't know, possibly it sets the scene for the album. You know, it links very much to the title of the album, The Queen is Dead. Maybe these old ideas of kind of Blighty and how maybe England and Britain is seen, harking back to kind of World War II.
Yeah. The good old times, maybe.
The good old days, possibly. I mean, it certainly works, doesn't it, when it comes to opening up the album. Fun fact as well, Jack, the Libertines used the same clip at the start of their set at Leeds 2012.
There we go, yeah.
There we go.
I love your fun facts,
Yeah.
Adam. So, Take Me Back to Dear Old Blighty then blends into this ferocious drum beat that really drives the energy throughout this song. And it's kind of a bit of a signature of rock music during that time, that drum sound. Quite a sort of dead sound, isn't it? Quite
deep, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Some really exciting guitarists too on this song. I really like the vibrancy of the song. It's a great way to start the album. Really makes you sit up and listen. Lyrically, Morrissey sings of his dislike for the British monarchy while taking inspiration from the events of 1982 when Michael Fagan broke into the Queen's bedroom in Buckingham Palace. A review of this song by John Savage in The Guardian. The Queen is Dead is the Smiths' mature masterpiece. The playing is faultless, the rhythm section is both supple and relentless, while Johnny Marr's wah-wah guitar is constantly in motion. In total sympathy with the song's mood changes, rhythmic and viciously propulsive 1 minute, ambient the next. So yeah, I think we both agree. Good start to the album, really.
Really strong start to the album. Yeah, loved it. The second track, Frankly, Mr. Shankly. Very interesting song. It takes the form of a letter, doesn't it, Jack? And it's a letter to the record label executives that Morrissey had fallen out with. Surprise.
Yeah, I looked into this. So he'd had a fallout with someone at the record company, hadn't he? And this is kind of his diss track.
It's a diss track. Yeah, it's definitely a diss track. So lyrically, frankly, Mr. Shankly, this position I've held, it pays my way and it corrodes my soul. I want to leave. You will not miss me. I will go down in musical history. Big words from Morrissey.
Yeah. Was he proven right? I guess he probably was, wasn't he?
Yeah.
The drums, bass and guitar combine in a staccato rhythm that bounces along under the lyrics, and then there's a really nice guitar riff that plays in between the verses, which I can only describe it as being very 80s.
Paul Simon-esque.
Yeah, I kind of got vibes of Call Me Al.
Yeah, which we love. That's our karaoke song, isn't it, really? Yeah. So Jeff Travis, head of Rough Trade, acknowledged in an interview with Mojo in 2011 that the line, "I didn't realise you wrote such bloody awful poetry," was a reference to a poem that he had written for Morrissey.
It's a really humorous song, this is, isn't it? And I've noticed that there's a lot of humour throughout the record, actually. Something that I hadn't realised before I sat down and listened to it, as I alluded to before.
Yeah. Kind of goes against your preconceived ideas of
Morrissey. I've kind of always had this kind of idea that I've sort of always accepted the tabloid version of Morrissey as being a bit grim and whiny. But he really is a superb lyricist, I think. He's funny, heartfelt, political, angry, happy, sad.
Yeah.
All the emotions.
Yeah.
Perhaps this episode will make me a Smiths fan after all.
Yeah. I think he got a lot more moodier as he went on in life, didn't he? A lot more cynical about things.
Yeah, I know you read his book, didn't you?
I read a chapter or two of his book and... Tough read. So track 3, I Know It's Over, a cleverly arranged song that musically has the feel of a romantic ballad, but lyrically it has a sorrowful feel and deals with the pain and loneliness of dealing with an unrequited love. Yeah,
we're sort of getting into the depressing section of the record now, aren't we, with these next two songs?
Yeah.
Very heartfelt song, superb vocal performance from Morrissey, though.
Yeah, I think that the focus of this record is Morrissey's voice, and it is a beautiful song. There's nice guitar from Johnny Marr in this, but the music is subdued and it's just kind of carrying the song in the background. The guitar and bass do build up to this crescendo at the end, and I think it's Morrissey kind of introspectively looking at himself really and thinking about he's maybe been told all these different things, that he's funny and he's a great songwriter, but maybe he feels quite alone as an individual despite having this newfound fame and fortune, I guess.
Yeah, and then the next track, Never Had No One Ever. So another atmospheric and introspective song. Kind of similar themes, I think, to the previous song of a man who is alone and longing for connection. Features a repeating synth riff that blends with evolving drums, creating a distinct and engaging soundscape. During an interview with Melody Maker in 1986, Morrissey explained that the track was written about the feeling of unease in his hometown of Manchester. It was a manifestation of frustration in the city as a young man of Irish descent, where he didn't feel at home because of the troubles of raging across the sea. He explained, "I never really felt like this is my patch, this is my home. I know these people, I can do what I like because this is mine. It never was, and I could never walk easily." For me, this song is one that I struggle to get into, if I'm being honest. It just never really grabs my attention. And I think this is the type of Smith song that kind of put me off him in the first place. But track 5, Cemetery Gates. So after the bleakness of the previous two songs, we get the jangly and upbeat contradiction that is Cemetery Gates.
Jack, I've noticed you've actually spelt cemetery wrong. It's misspelt on the album. Don't think you noticed that.
No, I didn't.
Deliberate?
No, I didn't.
Is that a deliberate thing? Because I've noticed quite a few of the Smiths and Morris's albums as well. He does actually misspell things on the albums,
okay.
Whether it's deliberate or maybe he's just dyslexic. Who knows?
That's interesting. Yeah, I hadn't picked up on that, to be honest. But yeah,
this song is about frolicking through a cemetery on a sunny afternoon, which we've all done, I'm sure. It's a very upbeat song, isn't it? I get quite an upbeat feeling from this song. It feels like a celebration of all the lives that have been lived, the ups, the downs, the love and the loss of the human experience. Lyrics like, all of these people, all of those lives, where are they now? Oh, with the loves and hates and passions just like mine.
Yeah, and then it's got acoustic guitars on this one, so they provide a lighter feel to the music with a melodic bass line that carries the song.
Yeah. And Johnny Marr said something interesting about this song. He didn't feel it was good enough to actually be on the album. He didn't particularly like the guitars on the track. And when he played it live. He really wasn't sure about it, but Morrissey did kind of say to him that he loved it personally, and he feels like the guitars and the music in general was so effortless and easy, and he believed that it should stay on the album. So I thought it just shows that maybe, Morrissey wasn't such a difficult character to deal with, the press and maybe we come to expect.
Yeah, perhaps just a little bit misunderstood.
Yeah.
Which brings us quite cleverly into track 6, Big Mouth Strikes Again. So this is one of the all-time classic Smith songs, an absolute banger, as they say. Up-tempo, driving rhythm, that iconic guitar riff, and the song is about Morrissey's frustrations with his public perception, the idea that he can't keep his mouth shut. In an interview with The Enemy in 1986, he explained that the song was about how his words often backfired. He said, "I often feel like a lightning rod for so much criticism and abuse, and that song was a way of expressing how ridiculous the whole thing felt." It's another humorous song, isn't it? Very funny.
Yeah, it just shows his kind of talent as a songwriter, really, that he can make a humorous song sound so good.
I love that opening line, sweetness. I was only joking when I said I'd like to smash every tooth in your head.
Yeah, and it kind of hints at the fact that, Morrissey is very, very outspoken, and I think he's came with a lot of criticism, quite rightly, for some of the things he's said, but, some of the things that he believes in is what a lot of people believe in. He's just not afraid to
say it, is he?
Yeah, how he feels.
Yeah. And in terms of this album, we'd love to know what you think of it. What are your favourite songs? Let us know on Instagram or TikTok at onemoremusicpod, or send us an email, onemoremusicpod@gmail.com.
So, on to track 7, The Boy with the Thorn in His Side. This was the first single off the album, Jack. I personally believe this is melancholy pop at its finest. Mars' guitars are light and uplifting, despite the lyrics being about a boy and being emotionally vulnerable, craving for romance. Now, Jack, does this sound familiar? Maybe, yeah. Maybe we should call this song A Boy Called Jack with a Thorn in His Side.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering when you might have a dig at me on this one.
Yeah.
But, thank you. Perhaps another meaning to the song, Adam. Morrissey said it was about the music industry. So the thorn was people who refused to play their records, said that he and the band wouldn't amount to anything, and he felt ignored.
That's mad to hear, isn't it? Thinking about the Smiths now and all the success they've had, there were companies, record companies or labels out there that were just refusing to acknowledge the Smiths. And when Marr was interviewed, he said that this was one of his favourite songs. And you can see why, for him, I guess from a guitarist perspective, the tunes are layered but not showy, and they do allow Morris's voice to come through. And I think that's a talent of his, that he's incredibly capable on the guitar but doesn't allow his guitar playing to overshadow the most important thing for me, and that's Morris's lyrics.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting fact, the single had an image of a young Truman Capote performing a star jump.
There you go. Very nice. Yeah. Good fact, Jack. Good fact.
So, song 8 is Vicar in a Tutu.
Controversial on this. Many see this song as a bit of a filler, but I really like it. Yeah,
it's an interesting one. Like I said, this was the first time I'd heard this song, and I got real country western vibes off this one. Marr stated in an interview that on an album with so many big tunes, he said they thought it would be okay to have a couple of throwaway songs. Musically, it's very rockabilly, and it's got a strong rhythm to tap your foot along to.
So that takes us on to track 9. There Is a Light That Never Goes Out, the third single to be released from this album. Interestingly, Jack, this was released as a single in 1992. So way after this album was initially released. And I wonder why that is, because this is such an iconic Smith song, isn't it?
For me, coming into this album, it's one of the only songs I knew already.
Interestingly enough, it was written in tandem with Big Mouth Strikes Again, with both songs sharing the same key and similar chords. Again, crazy to think that two brilliant songs were written in tandem with each other.
Yeah, I wish I could write one great song in my life, and they're just doing two at the same time. It's
crazy. Musically, it's built around a synth 6-string arrangement laid by Marr's melancholic, arpeggiated guitar work. Rourke's bass slides smoothly under the verses, adding weight and movement to the arrangement. Lovely.
And then we end the album with Some Girls Are Bigger Than Others. What a way to end an album.
Yeah, great. It's a little bit off kilter, this one. It's a song to me that feels like it could get quite chaotic, but it never really does. The rhythm section has this kind of start feel, adding to, I guess, the overall quirky nature of this track. It's very upbeat in tempo. It is a song you can dance to.
And again, Morrissey's lyrics are very cryptic, but I think it hints at how women are objectified within the media and judged based on their appearance. The lyrics are quite repetitive and doesn't give too much away. So, for example, from the Ice Age to the Dole Age, there is but one concern I have just discovered. Some girls are bigger than others. So that is The Queen is Dead by The Smiths. It's 10 tracks, 36 minutes. How has it gone down in history then? Well, let's have a look at some quotes. So in the Rolling Stone magazine, Gavin Edwards retrospectively viewed the album as one of the funniest rock albums ever, noting that Morrissey had learnt to express his self-loathing through mockery, while Johnny Marr matched his verbal excess with witty, supple music, and concluded, if the Queen's reaction to Morrissey was, "We are not amused," then she was the only one.
Very good, very good. So Enemy placed this album at the top of their list of the 100 greatest albums of all time in 2013.
That's a big claim. Pitchfork said that the Smiths' 1986 masterpiece stands as an enduring testament to England in the 80s, the complex relationship between performer and fan, and the ecstasy of emptiness.
Wow. Daryl Easley from the BBC said, simply put, the greatest Smiths album, locating Morrissey at the peak of his game with his players surprisingly flexible. The Queen is Dead did not disappoint when it's finally issued in the summer 1986. So Jack, final thoughts. A little bit earlier you said you hadn't really listened to the Smiths, you had maybe some preconceived ideas about them. Has your opinion changed?
Okay, Adam, I love this album.
Wow.
I really enjoyed listening to it this week. Completely changed my mind on the Smiths. The idea that I had in my head previously has kind of gone out the window. I now see how Morrissey and the band are real pioneers of this sort of music. The lyrics are kind of funny and political and satirical and moving and heartfelt. Some real depth to the album, which I really like. So really enjoyed it, and I'm definitely going to be checking out the rest of their catalogue.
Good.
You've turned me into a Smiths fan, Adam.
That's good. That's really good to hear. And I think I've always loved the Smiths. I mean, I guess it comes from my dad was a big fan of the Smiths, so I was kind of grew up around the band, I guess. And you are right. I think they, not only this album, but their whole back catalogue is so strong. And even Morrissey's solo work is good. Yes, he's gone off the ball a little bit, but you can't ignore the fact the Smiths are one of the most influential bands this country's ever produced.
So that just about wraps it up for this episode of One More Music Pod. The next episode, I am super excited to be doing this one. It is American Idiot by Green Day.
He is very excited.
Yeah, for me personally, I'd say one of my top 5 favourite albums.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I absolutely love that one.
Okay.
And in preparation for the next episode, we've got a homework task for yourself, Adam. As ever, you need to find us a link between The Queen is Dead by The Smiths and American Idiot by Green Day.
Okay, I'm really going to try hard at this. I feel I'm against the grain now, aren't I? I need to sort myself.
Yeah, you need to turn it around.
I do.
And we'd love to know your thoughts on this album or any of the albums we've covered on the series so far. Get in touch with us. So we're available on Instagram at onemoremusicpod or TikTok at onemoremusicpod. And our email address is onemoremusicpod@gmail.com. So, until then, see you later.
Bye.